4 months after leaving office, former President Bush has joined his former vice president campaign to defend their torture of people held in U.S. custody. His exact words presently. Our third story tonight, Mr. Bush's defense, predicated on the claim that torture worked, the torture yielded life-saving information unattainable any other way. This excuse, which is explicitly prohibited by the Geneva Conventions, which General Petraeus said today the U.S. violated, this excuse not only morally bankrupt, but as we understand more fully today, flatly untrue. Mr. Bush speaking last night in Michigan, speaking the night before the publication of a remarkable anecdotal account of American interrogation methods, about which more in a moment, and speaking almost simultaneously with another speaker, Michigan Senator Carl Levin, the Armed Services Chairman, revealing that he too, like former Vice President Cheney, knows what is in the 2 top-secret CIA documents that Mr. Cheney assures us will prove his claim and Mr. Bush's claim that torture, necessary torture, saved American lives. Senator Levin asserting in no uncertain terms the CIA documents say no such thing. Just as secret info could not back up the Bush-Cheney lie about Iraqi WMD, just as secret info could not back up the Bush-Cheney lie about Iraq ties to al-Qaeda, so too clearly secret info will not back up the Bush-Cheney lie that torture worked.
Mr. Cheney has said that the use of abusive techniques, quote, prevented the violent death of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of innocent lives, close quote. Mr. Cheney's claims are directly contrary to the judgment of our FBI director, Robert Mueller, that no attacks on America were disrupted due to intelligence obtained through the use of those techniques. Mr. Cheney has also claimed that the release of classified documents would prove his view that the techniques worked. But those classified documents say nothing about numbers of lives saved, nor do the documents connect acquisition of valuable intelligence to the use of abusive techniques. I hope that the documents are declassified so that people can judge for themselves what is fact and what is fiction.
Of course, we already know fact from fiction about torture, and a remarkable new article by Bobby Gauch for Time magazine, posted online less than 24 hours after last night's 2 speeches, offers heartrending evidence directly in the face of the Bush-Cheney claim that torture was needed to obtain actionable intelligence. At first, Bush and Cheney told us that Abu Zubaydah only started talking after waterboarding. A lie. He stopped talking after waterboarding. Before he was waterboarded, Zubaydah responded to traditional legal interrogations by giving up not only so-called dirty bomber Jose Padilla, but also Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. And how did they get Zubaydah? As we learned last night from a preview of Ghosh's report, FBI agent Ali Soufan went to Yemen a week after 9/11 to interrogate bin Laden bodyguard Abu Jandal, already in prison there. And the turning point for getting him to talk was giving the diabetic prisoner sugar-free cookies. Jandal also identified Mohammed Atta and 6 other 9/11 hijackers as members of al-Qaeda, because the FBI had not yet told him that al-Qaeda was behind 9/11. And when they told him that, when he believed al-Qaeda had killed 200 of his countrymen working in the World Trade Center, he was, in Soufan's words, completely shattered. Matthew Alexander is the pseudonym of a military interrogator who questioned more than 300 people in Iraq, including a militant Sunni imam tied to al-Qaeda in Iraq. The first thing the imam said to Alexander was, quote, "If I had a knife right now, I'd slit your throat." Alexander then got him to reveal the location of a safe house for suicide bombers, where they found another al-Qaeda operative, who in turn gave up Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq. How did Alexander get the intel that landed the biggest terrorist in Iraq? He asked the imam why he wanted to slit his throat. The imam said the U.S. invasion had empowered local Shiites, who then forced his family from their home. Here's what Alexander did next. Quote, "I said, look, I'm an American, and I want to say how sorry I am that we made so many mistakes in your country." The American apologized to the terrorist. From Ghosh's article, the imam's response, quote, "The imam," Alexander says, "broke down in tears." Abu Zubaydah, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Jose Padilla, Saddam Hussein, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, all captured or killed thanks to traditional, legal, smart interrogation. Ibn al-Sheikh al-Libi, on the other hand, was tortured after the CIA shipped him off to Egypt. His story of Iraq al-Qaeda ties was then used by Bush and Cheney to sell their war, until al-Libi recanted and said he lied just to stop the torture. This, what Khalid Sheikh Mohammed told the Red Cross about his waterboarding. Quote, "During the harshest period of my interrogation, I gave a lot of false information in order to satisfy what I believe the interrogators wished to hear in order to make the ill treatment stop. I later told the interrogators that their methods were stupid and counterproductive. I'm sure that the false information I was forced to invent in order to make the ill treatment stop wasted a lot of their time and led to several false red alerts being placed in the U.S. As promised, Mr. Bush's exact words last night describing his response to the capture of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, March 2003, quote, "The first thing you do is ask what's legal. What do the lawyers say is possible? I made the decision within the law to get information so I can say to myself I've done what it takes to do my duty to protect the American people. I can tell you that the information we got saved lives." Except you only ask what's legal and what's possible if you start with the premise that what you should do might not be. If you beg the real question that a real commander-in-chief would ask, the question any American would ask, truly concerned about America's safety that day, what you do, Mr. President, is you ask what works